Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of What's Really Happening in Southern Utah, the Entertainment Edition. I'm so excited for today. I want you all to meet a good friend of mine, Mason Cottam. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, welcome.
We're excited to have you. I've followed you we've known each other 15, 20 years at least.
Yeah.
And I've seen you in so many different projects, and you are truly one of the most talented people I've ever met. It must be fun to be Mason Cottam.
Wow, well that's quite the compliment. Yeah,
So
it is fun.
Tell me about your beginnings. Tell me about, you grew up in St. George, I remember.
I grew up in St. George and somehow made it to Cedar City. I think what happened was my wife and I moved to Logan. I was going to school up there, and we decided to move back closer to family, but we kind of liked the small town vibe, and St. George was getting a little too big for us at the time, and so we just settled here. We figured it was close enough to family, but far enough away.
That was a good choice.
That we could still like each other despite our families.
Good
Our families
We're
are
glad
great,
you're here too. How about music? What got you started in music, and how early? And
yeah, music. I think I'm sure, you know, with church stuff and whatever, in my youth, I used to do choir and that kind of thing, and then piano lessons. We all had to have piano lessons. No, I actually love piano, and that's probably one of my favorite instruments still to this day. But I took 2 or 3 years of piano lessons and then kind of dropped out because I was into sports and those kind of things. And then I think it was probably 91, about that time all that grunge stuff was coming out.
yeah,
I started liking guitar. And
I just hate to hear that you might have liked that grunge stuff.
you know what? I quite liked it a lot. And I'm sure my parents didn't know what to think of me wanting to. I think my hair was long. I had the ponytail, the combat
Nice, I'm
boots.
picturing that.
Yep,
Yeah.
It's good times. I mean, I did have hair at one time. No, so yeah, I got started on guitar either way. You know, discovered Led Zeppelin, discovered all these cool groups, and then at one point I decided I really like this acoustic stuff. And I sold my electric guitar, and I started playing Cat Stevens and James Taylor and
Nice.
Don McLean, and kind of went really singer-songwriter for a while there. Jim Croce, all that stuff. And then, yeah, so that's kind of my beginnings.
Awesome. And how soon? I'm surprised to hear you play piano. I can't say I'm surprised. I've just never seen you perform piano. I've seen you perform stand-up bass, guitar, lead guitar, rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun thing. But what brought in the bass?
What brought in the bass?
Yeah.
I think I started playing bass out of necessity.
Okay.
Probably, you know, I played upright bass with this jazz group, and that came about because we lost our bass player. And we had a show, I think we were playing the final Groove Fest,
Okay.
and we were going to play it without a bass player, and I said, that's going to be pretty silly. So I grabbed it and learned that set, sorta. It took me a little bit to wrap my head around no frets and that big instrument, but that's kind of how I started on that journey. I've always tinkered around a little on the electric bass. I knew I wasn't a real bass player, because when you play with one, you know what a real bass player is like.
Okay.
I was a guitarist playing bass. We're not quite as cool at the bass as a real bass player is, but so yeah, that's kind of how I got into bass more.
That is awesome. And do you ever perform with piano now? Any of your groups?
Do you know what? I don't. I was in a group, Juniper City, where I'd play keys on Rush songs and Pink Floyd stuff, a lot of organ stuff, but that was about the most I've ever performed with keyboard.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that is just because that's one more thing to load up.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
pianos are heavy.
Like I don't want more gear on stage.
I get it.
Right? But it would be a dream to have one sitting there and just go over to it for 4 or 5 songs. That would be wonderful.
Good deal. Now, back in your singer-songwriter, when you started James Taylor, and is that when you started writing?
Yeah, I had a buddy in high school that sang. I didn't sing. And we would kind of write songs together. They weren't very good. Looking back, I thought they were wonderful. I'm like, we are so good.
Expected to be heard on the radio.
Oh,
any
yeah,
day.
we were going to be famous, you know? I don't know, but yeah, so that's kind of where I started with the creativity. It's like, oh, let's put these chords together. I didn't quite know what was going on, but it gave me the opportunity to start exploring the creative side. I think I finally took guitar lessons when I was 17, 18. I used to drive out to Tuacahn in an old beat-up pickup truck, and we would do guitar lessons out there right when it first opened, and that's when I started guitar lessons. And that was cool because I got to learn what I was doing. Because I could already sort of play, but I didn't quite know. I had a lot of questions, we'll say that.
Okay. And so were you self-taught, and that was before YouTube?
Yes, that was
Were you
before
just
YouTube.
buying books, or you were just had an ear for it, or a natural ability of some sort?
A funny story. I don't know if it's funny, but it is a story. So I used to go camping a lot. That's kind of what we did, my buddies and I. And people would have guitars, and I would pick their brains. Like, what are you doing? Show me that. And then the next camp out, I could probably play it better than them because I wanted to learn what you were doing. So that kind of got me started, just trying to figure out basics, watching what people were doing. We used to have to get guitar magazines at the grocery store. That was one way. And it was a slow process looking back. I did a lot of things wrong that I could have exponentially grown my abilities if I had some guidance.
Well, it sure turned out. Hey, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Everybody stick around. We'll be back with Mason Cottam. Welcome back to another edition of What's Really Happening in Southern Utah. And this is the entertainment edition with Roger Alcott and our guest, Mason Cottam.
Thank you.
Now, when we left off, you were learning guitar.
Listening
to your buddies, buying the magazines, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, so that's pretty much that in a nutshell. I mean, there wasn't much to say other than I kept picking it up. It was something I really loved to do.
And your first band, how did that come about?
The first band was just me and a couple of buddies. It didn't really go anywhere. I think we played a half a show. I don't even know if it was a full show. And then probably around 19, 20, 21, I kind of quit. And I didn't pick it up again until I was married. And I was up at Utah State, and my wife signed me up for guitar competition.
So she didn't fall in love with you because you were in a band?
See, I didn't even take advantage of this. I should have. Hey, look, I'm a musician. No. So yeah, she signed me up for a guitar competition, and I didn't win, but I came in second place. And the guy liked me so much, he booked me at his restaurant weekly. And I didn't start singing until I was probably 21, 22.
Oh, wow.
And I only started singing just because I couldn't get other people to sing. And I was like, this will just be easier if I figure it out. So I probably could only do a half hour when I started that. And by the end of that, I was up to 2 hours of songs.
And then you moved back to Cedar?
And then I moved to Cedar. And
what was your first project here in Cedar?
And here in Cedar, my first project was a band called Gradient, actually.
Gradient, okay.
Yeah, and that was that very first year. I moved here. In fact, I went to an open mic at WRHISU, and Tim, he booked me at the Blue Cat the very next weekend.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I'm actually gigging. And so played that,
and those were some fun days, the Blue Cat days.
Yeah, I think so.
That was a fun thing.
We opened for a local band called the Western Bone Cleavers.
Oh, Dave Durfee.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
And Pablo
there were some
Dennis.
talented people there.
Yeah, and I did not fit that at all because I was just me and my acoustic, and they were a little more obscene than I was used to at the time.
And they're fun and edgy. And
yeah, very edgy. That's probably a much better word for it. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to Cedar City, and put together a little band. Still didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to go record. Okay. So recorded an album. I probably have about 500 still in the closet. We could go skeet shooting later with them. I can barely listen to them because I realize all the stuff I did wrong, but I was just so energized and wanted to do this record that we just went for it.
Awesome. And who was in Gradient with you? Anybody we know?
Kylie Astle. She's Kylie Kaloji. She played violin.
Okay.
A guy named Dave Kreitzer was in it. a drummer. We had Chad Baker and Ted Jensen.
Okay.
We really didn't even have a bass player. I think I played bass on the album.
Okay.
So it was
That's fun. So from Gradient.
from Gradient. Within 5 months after Gradient, I started a band
Mace-
called Mason's Jar of
Mason's
Jam.
Jar of Jam.
Yep.
And that's when I first really became familiar with you.
Right.
That was fun.
That was a good time. I think that was 2008, 2007,
in.
right there.
Yeah.
And that was Sean Owens and Chuck Triplett and myself.
And Chuck, he's a talent.
Yeah, Chuck's
I
a
do
good
keep up
guy.
with him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I think within 6 months of starting that, we did our first album together. I had all this material and was like, let's go record.
Different songs from Gradient, or
Yes, I think there was one song that might have been on the first one, but I thought I could do it better the second time. So we put it on. I put it on the next album. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that was a tight band. That was fun to listen to. And then came Juniper City.
Yeah. So 4 or 5 years later, I met a guy named Dean Rogowski. I was teaching guitar.
He has a kick in the ass.
Right. So I met Dean through his daughter. I was teaching her guitar,
Okay.
and she kept saying, you know what, my dad, he plays drums.
He is a heck of a drummer.
At that time, though, you know how it is. Everybody's got a buddy that plays something. Hey, you should have him come on, you know. So I just, that's great. Not really believing her. I'm sure he does, thinking, yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. And then 2 or 3 I used to do student concerts, and I would hire a band, and they would back up the students, and she kept saying, hey, my dad would love to play. And finally I'm like, yeah, okay, let's try him out. And so after one little concert with him, I'm like, I like this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Why was I wasting time with everybody else? And so we started a little group with him and Rhett Boswell and Andrew Arnett. And I think we were together 7-8 years. And that was probably the tightest band I've ever been in.
It was fun to listen to.
We had
It
a
was
good time.
Yeah.
We practiced weekly almost, which I haven't done before or since. And
Keeping a band together for 7 years, too, that's a trick.
right. And if Andrew wouldn't have left, we'd probably still be playing together. And it was one of those things we kept thinking, should we bring in another bass player? And it just, I don't know, the band only seemed like it worked because it was us.
Yeah.
And we were all so different musically, too. Like, all of our playlists would have been 100% opposite of each other. But it somehow
And at this
worked.
time, you weren't really bringing in a country influence so much, were you?
No.
Yeah.
We didn't do country at this time. No.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Any chance I get to see those guys, I love it.
Good deal. Hey, well, this next segment,
Okay.
we are going to have Mason come up with his guitar. You'll be impressed, I promise. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to another episode of What's Really Happening in Southern Utah, the Entertainment Edition. I've introduced Mason Cottam before. I don't want to bore with the talking too much because you've got your guitar there and I want to take advantage of that.
I do.
But tell me what you got going on now, where they can find you, where they can find some of your music. And
Well, yeah, you can find me right here in Cedar City.
Awesome.
No, online, I'm still a little old school. I have the Facebook page.
Awesome.
I think my daughter set up an Instagram for me. I probably can get on it.
Okay, and the project you're playing with the most right now?
Right now I'm playing with a little group called the Blake Mason Band. We were the Mason Cottam Trio, and we were playing a bunch of casino gigs, a lot of poppy cover stuff.
Okay.
And then we got this call that said, hey, we want your band to come play, but it needs to be all country. And I said, well, we can do that. And so that kind of got me going down a different rabbit hole. Before that I played with Chris Peterson. He's a country guy that's local. I was playing some country with him, and so I already knew a little bit. I was teaching up in Beaver, and a lot of the songs they wanted to learn were country. So I was starting to learn country music more by teaching them how to play certain songs. And so when they asked, I told the band none of them had played country before, and I think we all love it now.
Awesome. I love to hear that.
It's,
Another convert.
It's
perfect.
it's a lot of fun. The bass player's like, this is a lot of fun. I was like, yeah, I'm having a good time.
Good.
I mean, we'll still throw in some Superstition right in the middle, some Santana right in the middle of a set, but I think it's fun.
Good.
I figured
And you're still doing gradient sound.
Gradient sound, that's one of my little side businesses that I've been doing for the
Side business that you put 40 hours a week in.
Right.
Good.
And that basically just covers my teaching when I teach. It covers when I go set up a stage, when I do lighting, when I do bookings, and then the live sound. I kind of just all kind of funnel it that way.
Okay, and the other 40 hours a week you put in at
Yeah,
SUU.
yeah. I work over here at Southern Utah University now. My official title is Technical Supervisor.
Perfect.
And basically that just means I'm kind of in charge of a lot of the audio and the video for the student center and some of the big events that they have there.
Well, they're lucky to have you.
I'm lucky
Anyway,
to have them.
I'm excited you brought your guitar. That is a beautiful guitar. Why don't you give it a shout out, tell us the story behind it?
Yeah, so this guitar right here, it's pretty special to me. This was made by a local luthier, Luke Heaton over at Whittlesticks. And this wood right here, it's myrtle. And he had a sheet of that in the back room. And I said, I don't know how that's going to sound, but I would sure like a guitar out of that. And about 7-8 years later, when I finally gave him enough money, I don't know if I did at the time, but he trusted me enough. He started building it, and I've had it for 3 years, and I've taken it through its paces, and it's held up well. So it's even fallen off a mic stand or two, and still looks and plays good. So
well, awesome.
I got lucky.
You brought up James Taylor earlier.
Yes. Yeah. So James Taylor.
James Taylor.
I know a James Taylor song.
You know, I'd ask you to do Don McLean, but his songs were so long.
Do you know what? The last show I did a couple of weeks ago, someone asked if I'd play American Pie, and I played that whole dang thing.
Did you really? All
I had to have
and 42 seconds.
I had to have the words for it. Don McLean had some good ones like "Starry, Starry Night." Paint your palette blue and gray. Walk out on a summer day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul.
That takes me back. Venice, wasn't there a...
Yeah, that song was Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, about Vincent van Gogh. Don McLean. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't have more good stuff. One of the greatest lyricists.
Oh, I think so.
Paul Simon, I think, is probably my top lyricist. Just, yeah, I don't know where he came up with that, but music's not like that anymore.
Who else? Who else? James Taylor, and then there was another one you mentioned. That
Jim Croce.
Jim Croce.
Yeah.
Time in a Bond.
Yeah. Like a singing bird in a croaking. Yeah, James Taylor's great.
Yeah, we grew up in a pretty good era.
Yeah, I like all that stuff so much. James Taylor, he's really cool. He's got a very unique style, how he plays. He really just uses his 3 fingers, and yeah, he does it well.
Awesome.
Well, here's a little
Let's
James
hear
Taylor
something.
if you want. Wait. One more try. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Susan, the plans they made put an end to you. I woke up this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. No, and I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've Seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon me, Jesus? You gotta help me to make a stand. You just got to see me through another day. My body's aching and my time is in, and I won't make it any other way. No, and I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. Well, I've been working my mind to an easy time. My back turns to war in the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it will turn your head around. There's hours of time on the telephone line to talk about things to come. Sweet dreams and flying machines and pieces on the ground. And oh, and I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you, baby, just one more time again. Thought I'd see you, fire and rain. And there's just a few things coming my way this time around now. Thought I'd see you, oh, fire and rain. La da da.
You have such an emotion-packed way of playing. You amaze me.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Mason.
Yes.
Your emotion when you play and when you sing, seriously, are touching. I wish people could be here in person to hear you, but they can be. They just got to look for you.
Right.
Get your schedule, and they won't be disappointed. I promise.
Well, thank
Show
you.
up.
I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely an honor coming from you, so I appreciate
Hear
that.
something country out of you. I want to hear
Country?
you're a real convert now.
Yeah, you do, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you put me on the spot on that one. I wasn't ready for some real country. First thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing and a youngin's dream of growing up to ride. There's a little country there for you.
All right, this is one of them that you guys are doing, maybe. Anything that's on the radio now?
Yeah, or did you want me to do an original, or do you
Oh
want
my
me to?
gosh, I would
mean,
love
we
to
could.
get
I
you to
could
do
do
an
like
original.
some Garth Brooks or something, or we could.
Hey, if you'll do an original, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. This next one, or this
I'm
little.
waiting for another album to come out, but until then, tease us.
Right. So a few years ago, I got stuck in this rut where I kept trying to be more complicated. I'm like, oh, that's too easy. We gotta have some complicated or intelligent,
some sevenths, or
some intelligent chord progressions, and then, you know what? And I was sitting down with a mandolin, just kind of. I think I was watching TV. I don't know. And I was strumming around. I didn't know it well enough to get too fancy, so I kind of had to shut my mind off. And I had a teenage daughter at the time.
Beautiful teenage daughter. She's starting. How is she doing? The baby?
She's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I could talk for hours about
being
that.
a grandpa, I'll bet.
Oh yeah, but you know, as all teenagers, and in fact everyone, I don't think we're ever exempt from making mistakes and growing. But it seems like those teenage years tend to be a little more up and down than the rest of our lives. But you know, I was kind of watching her, and it kind of inspired this song. So here it is.
Awesome.
And do I remember what it's called? Not at the moment, but it will come to me.
Okay.
My baby, you didn't know. My baby, you couldn't go. My baby, you're lost in a long, hard life full of pain. You wouldn't dare close your eyes when a burglar is stealing your pride. Yeah, you waltz around in circles until the morning light shines through the blinds. My baby, you didn't know. My baby, you couldn't go. My baby, you're lost in a long, hard life full of pain. Backwards is forward and right side is down. It's the scene of your life disappear. Or do you stand up and ponder, crawl back and wander, climb up on over the hill and go down, 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 over and down, 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 over and down, 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 over again. You're looking down at your valley below. Your home doesn't feel like a home. Or do you hang up your coat or turn around and walk back out the door? My baby, you didn't know. My baby, you couldn't go. My baby, you're lost in this long, hard life full of pain. My baby, you didn't know. My baby, you couldn't go. Baby, you're lost in a long, hard life full of pain. Baby, you're lost in a long.
Mason, I don't even know what to say.
Well,
That was beautiful.
well, thank you. Yeah,
That was beautiful.
Just a simple little
Make sure when you
strummer.
listen to that, make sure you share that with your friends out there, won't you please? Be on an album someday, I hope.
Maybe this year.
Awesome.
Maybe it's time.
We'll look forward to that.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming, Mason.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you again on What's Really Happening in Southern Utah, the Entertainment Edition.